Hello, everybody. Just testing to see if you guys can hear me. If you can hear me, say, I can hear you. Loud and clear. Awesome. Thanks, Tracy. Got about a minute and a little bit to go. "45 seconds to go, guys. I hope you're getting ready. I'm madly getting ready here. Countdown starting soon, guys. I see Bruce is in the house. All right, here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. And hello, everybody. Welcome to Live from Lockdown, episode number 65. It looks like top of my head's getting cut off. Hang on a second here. I just adjusted that. I guess I didn't quite adjust it right. How's that? Looking better? Great. So good to see all of you guys here this week. This is going to be a fun one. But before we do, just all the usual. Welcome to Live from Lockdown. This is where we come together from photoshopCAFE. There's a lot of regulars here. If you guys are regulars, let everyone know you're a regular. Oh, my throat's dry. Very dry. Ugh. And this is unrehearsed, live, and obviously it's very, very unrehearsed. And if you're just joining us, yep, this is how we roll here. So I guess that was a good introduction to our culture. Just pull up a chair, relax. This is very low-key, laid-back. We're very serious about Photoshop, but not so serious about everything else. So if you want to just say, hey, I'm new here, drop that in the chat and let everyone know you're new, and that will be awesome. And everyone will welcome you because it's a very nice group of people. Having said that, I see tons of regulars there, and a lot of the regulars have never missed a single session. And of course, our moderator is Bruce. Bruce Bicknell is in the house, and he will be taking all your drink orders. So get those drink orders in nice and quickly, because this will be over in an hour, and we go back to our lives. So, all right, guys, let's have a look here. Oh, I love how my throat goes just as we're about to start. It's very hot here right now. Let me go to my desktop. All right, what we're doing this week is something. Oh, thanks, Jason. He likes my Photoshop pillow. My face is behind the comments. Oh, interesting. I must have pushed the wrong button or something. I don't know. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, just make sure you expand your screen if you guys need to do that. And by the way, I'm coming from sunny Southern California. Bruce is coming from Tampa Bay, Florida. He made it through the hurricane. And here he is on the other side. And I'm making it through the heat wave. So awesome. All right, guys. So what we're doing is something really interesting. So I thought this week just to do something completely different. I don't know if any of you guys know. I've been doing this a long time. In fact, this is I've written 20 books, and this is not a self-promo because I obviously can't get these, but this was the first book I did. And this was New Masters of Photoshop. I was actually one of the contributors, honored to be in there. And this was the year 2001. Okay. Yep, this was published in 2001. Then I did my first, solo-ish book, which was this big manual on Photoshop 6, and I think that was in 2001 too. The reason I'm showing you all this is I got a lot of tutorials and stuff I used to teach a long time ago. So I guess I've been doing this 20 years or more. I've been running photoshopCAFE 21 years, I believe. So I've spoken at a lot of events, conferences, seminars, all those kind of fun things over the years. And I thought it would be fun to kind of roll back the clock and grab something that I used to teach, because things have changed a lot. I did a lot of photorealistic illustration stuff. I don't know you guys are familiar with that or not. I did a lot of design stuff. I actually started as a designer, became a photographer, taught photography. Then when digital photography came out, I was one of the people teaching everybody how to convert over. So I actually spent years teaching photographers, film photographers, how to do digital in Photoshop. And so we kind of brought in that whole, digital darkroom, which is pretty much a lot of what's being taught today. But rolling back the clock, we did visual effects. We didn't necessarily have all access to Adobe stock and all this stuff. So it's like, hey, you want some fire? You didn't just download fire. And they literally, when I first started, the internet came in 93 was when it became popular. And I've been using Photoshop since before then. And so we created them ourselves. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to take some of the things we did back then, and maybe some of them I might laugh at and just say, oh my gosh, really? Is that what we were teaching back then? But take the tools today and see if we can do as good a job, a better job, a different job. But what this is going to do is it's going to unveil some areas of Photoshop to you guys that I know you haven't seen. A prime example of that is, I did a series last year, or what year? I don't even know what month. Last year, yeah, on YouTube, where I picked up some of the lighting effects, filters, things I used to do all the time. And people were like, oh my God, I didn't know those existed. And literally some of the popular people teaching Photoshop today were not even born when we were doing this stuff. So a lot of the stuff, myself, I say we, because I've got a lot of peers, from back then. And, a lot of these tools are completely unknown. A lot of these techniques are completely unknown. And these used to be common 20 years ago. So I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to turn over some angles for you guys. We're going to turn over some rocks and stones or whatever you want to call it. And maybe there'll be some things that used to be old that are new again. And and I see it every now and then. Someone on YouTube will grab something and everyone's like, oh my God, you're a genius. And I'm like, yeah, we all did that 15 years ago. So anyway, that was the whole point of it. Rub it in. I've been here forever. How many of you guys were not born in the year 2001? If that's you, say so in the chat there. And Bruce will bring you a non-alcoholic beverage. Everybody else, here we go. Are you guys ready? Hopefully no pics in the conferences we attended, right? Bruce has been with us for many years. I don't know if you guys know that. But and we also did a lot of the shows. I've got a lanyard. Let me show you something. You guys are going to be the first ever to see this. I was saving it for something, but I just feel like now is a good time to show you guys this. Hang on. This might be a mess. Okay, I'm bumping the lights. Alright, get ready for this, guys. This is something I've never shown to anybody ever before. Let me put this on camera. These are my badges from the conferences I've attended. Most of these I've spoken at. And let me just see if I can zoom out a little bit and show you guys. These are literally, they go all the way down, and these are the badges. These are the conferences. Most of these, as I say, I've spoken at. Many of these I have exhibited at. And for a lot of these, when we did the booth, which, I started off just me and my girlfriend at the time, many years ago. But we ended up doing a lot of the big shows, everything from Photoshop World and much bigger shows than that, like WPPI, Imaging USA, Photo Plus, all of those. We did those for years and years and years and had booths. We were doing 8-10 shows a year, and Bruce was managing our booth. So anyway, that now you guys know a little bit more about me and a little bit more about Bruce. Yes, I am a single friend, as I said, my girlfriend at the time. So anyway, little history about me. I don't know what prompted that. I guess we're doing a, kind of a throwback Thursday. I guess it's a Thursday, so we're doing that throwback Thursday. So if you follow me on social media, I'm going to do something fun with those badges at some point. Get pictures of them before I end up tossing them or whatever. So hopefully that never happens. Anyway, guys, so there we go. You know a little bit more now. All right, so for those of you who don't care about all of that, which I figured, after 65 weeks of this, maybe I could introduce myself a little bit. All right, let's look into this here. And let's look at... I'm just getting rid of my contact information here. So this was... Wow. This one was... 19 years ago? Okay, so here's an outline that I taught 19 years ago. Session, Photoshop Most Wanted. And I do need to mention this. As I've said, I've written 20 books, and I'm not going to go through all of those right now. But a good friend of mine, Al Ward, I don't know if you guys remember him, he used to run Action Effects. Him and I wrote this book. And this is Photoshop Most Wanted. And this was written 2002. And this actually became the best-selling Photoshop book that Friends of Ed had. And which was the publisher, British publisher. And then we did a volume 2. And so these are full of effects and stuff, that we used to do in Photoshop. I don't know, some of you have seen these books. But I just want to say that because, my friend Al, I don't know if you guys know of him or knew of him, but a couple of years ago he passed away from pancreatic cancer. And, it was very sad. But I'm happy to have done all these years with Al, well, not all these years, but a few years, back in the day, we wrote a few books together and it was a pleasure. And he was definitely the best actions guy. Like, anyone tells you that anything about actions, like Al literally forgot more in a week of actions than anyone will ever know. He was the actions expert. Anyway, moving on. And Tracy has that book. All right, so let's look at this. This is what I taught 20 years ago. And it looks like I had 3 sessions at this event. Photoshop CS. Okay, so this was more recent. It was only almost 20 years ago. Actually, not as many, but actually that would be, yeah. When did Photoshop CS come out, guys? Let me Google that really quickly. Year Photoshop CS. Oh, my password at Calby's been compromised. Great. Love it. All right, so let's have a look here. Photoshop CS release date. So you definitely know I am the most transparent person on the web, as you can see. Actually, October 2003. Okay, so this was about 18 years ago. Something like that. All right. So, Photoshop Most Wanted. Colin will walk you through some of today's most highly requested special effects. As a response to demand, he has co-authored the Photoshop Most Wanted series and blah, blah, blah. This will be a lecture-style format, blah, blah, blah. Topics will include, and by the way, these are sessions that I taught, photorealistic textures such as wood, metal, and rock. And I know these are the most requested, today's most requested effects, maybe 18 years ago. All right, let's have a look. See how I would have done this. Why don't we start with making these textures? Okay, so we're just going to create a new document, and you guys can see that fine, right? Everyone can see this. Chris Main's still the editor of the magazine. By the way, I still write for Photoshop User Magazine. Every issue I have for 14 years, 15 years. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Enough about me. How are you? All right, so why don't we start? We're going to create a rock texture. I think it'll be fun. So I haven't done this in years, and by the way, guys, this is completely unrehearsed, so this should be fun. Okay, so I'm taking that the light is going to go from the left to the bottom. I do remember I used to do that. Then what I did is I went into the channels and I created, I'm doing it now. I'm going to create some clouds. I want to get some texture going with the clouds. So in the channel, we created an alpha channel. And by the way, this is the foundation for almost all textures. And then we're going to choose filter, and we want to use the render menu. Now, here's a little tip. Make sure you're in image mode RGB, because the render only works on RGB images. It will not work on CMYK or anything else. So let's just go back, and we're going to choose our filter, render, and we're going to choose clouds. And this is great. Now, here's a little thing. Here's a tip that probably no one knew this for 15 years, 20 years. If you hold down the Alt or the Option key when you create clouds, let me show you this. Holding down Alt or Option will create a more dense clouds. We don't want those, but I just wanted to show you that. In case you ever do need more dense clouds, that's hold down the Alt or the Option key will show you that. All right, see, there we go. I don't want them as dense. I want just nice. All right, so let's go back to our layers. Make sure we choose RGB. And all I've done, I've just created that channel. And this is a channel that we're going to use. Jan, don't worry, you haven't missed anything. We're just starting, and we're going to do a whole bunch of these. What's this? For those who might want to pick up a couple of copies of Colin's, the mass market paper book is selling on Amazon for $900. Wow, I love it. I've got some, guys. I'll sell them to you for $600. How's that sound? All right, so so we're going to choose the filter, and we're going to go back to render, and I'm hoping this is going to work in the latest version of Photoshop. This is definitely a coin toss on that, and we're going to go down to lighting effects. And here's our lighting effects. Let's go under the preset. Actually, that's not bad. I just basically, let's just do a single spot so we can start from where everyone's going to start, which is what we're getting. Nice. So this is where the magic comes, is when we go under the texture, we're going to choose the Alpha 1 texture channel. And watch what happens when we increase the height. Nothing, of course. All right, let's just move a couple of settings to get this working. And let's get this going. Intensity, hotspot. I think this is working. All right, that's weird. So the spotlight is on, and we're not seeing our texture coming. That should be showing. You know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create these lights manually. So if you see there's different types of lights here, let's do a directional infinite light. And we're going to drag that. Yeah, it looks like the... I hate it when it doesn't work right. I knew there would be a chance of this. Let's reset that light. Yeah, see, nothing's changing on the display here. Because this is buggy. I don't know if you guys knew that. That's why I said we'll see if it works. Because the lighting effects is one of those things, as you guys know, it's amazing, but it's been broken for a while. And don't think this is going to work, guys. I'm just going to click OK. We're going to get some kind of a result, but the preview is obviously broken. Yeah, see, there's the result. So the preview is broken. So let's try. I'm just going to do this in the dark. This is when you know you've been using Photoshop for a minute. So we're going to go back under the render. We're going to use lighting effects. We're going to turn it down. Okay, so now it's starting to show a little better. Let's turn the intensity down, the hotspot down. And I'm literally, this is not refreshing. So we are literally just going to just change those settings in the dark. And it's still too intense. Okay, so let's undo that. Filter, we're going to do it again. Yeah, the preview, actually, you know what? I could just use Photoshop 2020. I'm going to give this one more shot. So you guys would see the these changing on yours, hopefully. And then what's happening on mine, it's just not refreshing the update. So I can't see what's, even though I'm changing these settings are changing. I just can't see what's happening with them. That's all. Let's bring that height down a little bit. And we're going to click OK. And, all right, I'll show you. See how you can see the rock texture sort of showing there on the edges. That's what it's supposed to do. So the other thing we can do, check this out, guys, is we can run more than one version of Photoshop at the same time. So I would recommend that you guys, here's another tip, install an older version of Photoshop as well. So this is Photoshop 2020. Hey Joe, good to see you. Welcome to the cafe. And what we're going to do here is we're going to choose File, New, and we're going to click Create. And just in that little bit of time, that was funny, in that little time when that didn't work, we lost about 50 people, so definitely not the regulars. Alright, so let's go in here and we're going to choose the channels. And by the way, the replay will be live after this, so we're just going to continue doing this. We're going to choose Filter, Render. So I'm just doing the same thing we did. We're just applying some clouds. Awesome. And we're going to go in our layer. Now we're going to go into Filter, Render, Lighting Effects. And here's our lighting effects. Let's see if they work on this version of Photoshop. Yep, they do. Let's choose the texture, Alpha 1. Let's increase our height a little bit. And you got to play around with some of these a little bit. Get it to work. Not the blue texture, but the alpha. There we go. And see what's happening, guys? See how we're starting to get this rock texture. And then you got to play around with this metallic and the gloss. And this will give you a little bit more. There we go. Let's change that color to something a little bit more brownish. Same with the colorize. There we go. And let's play around with that. Let's make that nice and big. And you can see what's starting to happen here. As we're starting to get something that resembles a very metallic rock, a shiny rock, almost like unrefined gold. And of course, if you don't like that color, we can change it. Just get that about where it looks good. I kind of like the gold though. How about you guys? Now the other lighting option, this is using a spotlight. The other lighting option is to use a directional light, which sometimes I think this just works better. Let's turn off the spotlight and just do the directional light. And see, it looks like something from the moon. Let's do the color here is going to be the highlight area. Let's give it a kind of an orangey. Just going to mix in a little bit of light. There we go. And then click OK. And that's literally how we created a realistic looking rock texture. And it's still how we do it today, when it's working right. Alright, so there's another one that's actually kind of cool, and that's the brushed metal. I remember this is one of the first things I was trying to create here inside of Photoshop. Yeah, it does look like the moon. We can create a brush metal effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a black to white. And I'm just doing this, but I'm going to go way off here so we just get the grays. Notice I just zoomed out and then started way off here. Because if I'd gone from corner to corner, it would be a solid black to solid white. I don't want that. I just want to get a little bit of it, going here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add some noise. So I'm going to give brush metal. So we're going to choose filter noise. And this was the first effect, like in the 90s, that I needed to create. Actually, I'm going to do this on a separate layer. That I literally needed to create for something we were working on. It was in an album cover. So we're going to choose the filter noise. We're going to add some noise here. And this depends how deep do you want this brushed metal to be. Brushed aluminum, metal, whatever. So now we've got that. And now we're going to give it that brushed look. And we're just going to do it for motion blur. So we can choose filter blur. And then we're going to apply a motion blur. If you guys just joined us, don't worry. We're going to be doing lots of these little quick tutorials. And the replay will be live right after when we've done this. Bruce like metal. Yeah. Woo. Rock on, baby. All right. So see when you get it like that, or maybe your stainless steel appliances. See how we've got that just a lower amount and that gets that grain in there. We definitely want some color. So we're going to choose let's just choose a solid color. Give it a goldish color and change that to color blend mode. Drop the opacity down if you don't want it so fake. And there we go. We start to get that, you know, brushed metal effect. Now, you can increase the effect of that. I'll just duplicate it so you guys can see the before and after. You could sharpen it. So watch this. Filter sharpen. And if we unsharp mask down here, and we can intensify this grain. Look at that. And see how it starts to give us a completely different texture? This is actually getting very close to our wood texture now. Now that I think about it, I could probably turn that into wood. And sometimes, you know, one effect is just a variation of another effect. So if I was to do that and then rotate this, you know, so it goes straight up and down, we're literally going to start to get some wood going on here. Of course, I'll change the color in a second to something. Let's just go to there. And then if we change that color, double click on it, let's make it more of a brown. How do you get brown? It's like already orange, and then you just kind of bring it down. Then we start to get wood. One of the things that we did do, we would do, you know, we're doing it now, is maybe put a knot in there. So you just make a oval selection, and then we're going to feather this, I don't know, 40 pixels, I'm guessing the amount. And we're just going to choose a filter, distort. I haven't done some of these things in years, guys. Looking for that swirl. Where was it? Was it under distort? There it is. Twirl. That's what it's called these days. It was always called that. Yeah, and I can do a little twirl there. Maybe that's too much. It's kind of funny because back then I was satisfied with stuff that now I'm just like, no, that doesn't look real. You know, our eyes have definitely developed. So maybe just a little bit less of a knot there, and then we can kind of create knots in the wood, just like that, if you guys wanted to do that. How would you do brushed metal in a circular pattern? Just use the blur and a circular blur, you know. So when we do that blur, let me just show you. Do I have the noise still there? Let me just duplicate that. Put the noise in. Filter noise. So hopefully this is interesting for you guys. This is something completely different. So, you know, I would do that. Now I would choose a filter blur. And then do a radial blur. And turn it to spin. Instead of zoom. Boom. Now you get that circular. Let's do it 100%. There we go. And then literally put the color back on. And, you know, that's how I would do it. You know, whatever color you want. That's not a very good color. Let's turn that opacity all the way up. Make it more of a gold. Or we can put it into a bluish tone. Now, if that was higher resolution and you just take an edge of it, it's going to give you that. All right. When browsing YouTube goes right. Oh, well, welcome, Sheldon. Good to see you. All right. Where is Woody Woodpecker, says Rael. Okay, that wasn't the best. I'm sure you guys can do better. All right, so what else do we have here? One of these other things that I did. Oh, chrome and diamonds or creating trendy colorizing effects. All right, here's a cool one. Oh, it's been a long time since I've done these too, Susan. All right, so there was something that I created, and I'll say that because I don't know. It's been ripped off so many times that I don't know that I've actually been credited for it, and that was creating the bling bling wrap diamonds effect. I used to moderate the forum Planet Photoshop. I don't know if you guys remember that. Back in the NAP days, there was a site called Planet Photoshop, and I was moderating that, and one of the questions I got asked, a ton of people were asking me, how do you create diamonds? Like, how do we do like bling bling wrap diamonds? And there was no tutorial at the time. Hey, Greg, good to see you from UK. And so I created it. And so you guys have probably seen this because it's been ripped off so many times. But believe it or not, I was actually the very first originator of this. Oh, it's been in Down and Dirty Tricks. It's been in magazines. It's been in books. And I don't know if I've ever been credited as the actual first person to do this. It got ripped off from a French magazine, actually, and we sued them. And I won. Anyway. So moving along. So what we want to do is we want to turn this into some bling bling wrap diamonds. You know, the kind of thing that you would bling out around your neck. And one of the things that I'm going to attempt to do this time, rather than how we did it back in the day, you know, back in the day I did it with a bunch of layers and stuff, I'm going to attempt to do this non-destructive and save it as a reusable layer style, or at least create it reusable. How does that sound? So we're going to go to the effects. We're about to go into the layer styles here, and we are going to go deep into these layer styles, guys. So I hope you're ready for this. So what we want to do is we're going to create the diamond effect on the bling, you know, make it look like those little diamonds, and then we're going to put a gold outline around it. I think that sounds cool, and I think we can do all of that in one layer style using a bunch of effects. So first thing we want to do is we want to use the pattern. I'm not sure it's going to work, but I'm just saying I think we can do this. So let's have a look, because I'm thinking right now, because the way I created the glass might not work. So let's have a look. But we're going to use a new pattern. Oh, I could create the texture, make it as a texture. Oh, you know what, guys? I know exactly how we can do this and do it in one hit. All right, so check this out. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to create a new layer and just fill this. Maybe not white. Let's fill it with gray. So I'm going to hit Shift Backspace and we're going to get a 50% gray. I know exactly how we're going to do this. Control D. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go under the filters. So right now we're creating the diamond effect, and then we will apply that texture. So what we want to do is we want to go into the filter gallery. And the filter gallery is another thing I could spend a whole session on if you guys are ever interested in this. And then we're going to be going under, I believe it's either the sketch or distort. Let's have a look. Or is it the, let's have a look. Artistic is one of these. And let's have a look. Rough pastels is close. Plastic wrap. You guys remember plastic wrap? Oh boy. No, it's the glass one. Okay, so we're going to be doing glass. And this is good. Glass. We got the distortion. And we're going to do tiny lenses, which look like they might need, yes they are, they're going to need clouds. So let's choose filter clouds. So filter render clouds. And this is just how we created the clouds before. As I said, that's the basis for a lot of textures, and this is going to work now. I haven't done this in years, guys. All right, so we're choosing the filter, and now we're going back to our filter gallery. Let's go to the glass, which I believe was under distort. There it is, the glass. Yep, we are on. Tiny lenses. And let's increase the distortion. Yep, there we go. And these are our bling bling wrap diamonds. Click OK. You could also create a snake skin out of this, but this is perfect. So now I've selected this, and I want to create a pattern out of it. So we're going to use Edit. And we're going to define a pattern, and we're going to call it diamonds. Okay, now we've done that, we can do everything here inside of a layer style. So let's open our layer style again. So we're just going to pop it open, and now what we want to do is we want to do texture. So let's go down to our pattern overlay. And if you guys remember, we just created that bling bling. Now we can select it. Nice. And we can scale it. You can move it around, see what we're doing here. All right, so now we're blinging this out. Let's take it down a little bit smaller. And see if you get a seam. We just drag it. And so that seam is not over the eye anymore. That's looking better. And there's other things we can do with this. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to create a gold around the edges. So that means we need to do a bevel and emboss. And the type of bevel I want to use on this one is going to be a stroke emboss. So that means it's going to put it on the edge. Now, the problem is we don't have a stroke yet. So, you know, we do this, we're not going to see a lot. So let's go in here, we're going to choose a stroke. And for the stroke, let's grab a color. I'm going to change that to a gradient instead of a fill. And for the gradient, why don't we do, let's choose the legacy gradients. And you can find that from in here if you don't know where that is. And then we're going to go down to metals. I never really liked these metals a lot, but let's see if they've gotten any better over the years. So we'll just use what's called gold for now. And we're going to make this larger. Now notice as I make it larger, this is going to enable us to apply that stroke emboss on it. So let's go back to the stroke. And now we can change the size of it. We want it to match. And we're getting there. Let's put the stroke though. I don't want it on the outside. I want it on the center. See, when we do that, now it's going inside and outside. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And let's go back to our bevel and emboss. And we want that size to fit there. See what's happening now? We're getting better. Let's change the angle because that just looks awful. And the angle just never looks good out of the box. There we go. Now we're starting to look better. Gloss contour. This will actually change the shape. So instead of just being flat, we can change that edge to something else. Get a nice rounded edge. See that? We can get it indented. So we can change that. If you want something more shiny, click that one. And see how now we're starting to get more into our diamonds effect. Let's change that angle again because I'm still not digging it. There we go. Now it's starting to look better. All right. Let's take that. I want to soften down. Let's take that size up just a little bit more. And click OK. So what are you guys enjoying this? Oh, we'll do a star filter. Don't worry. We'll do that. We'll definitely do that. All right. So here's the nice thing about this is it's non-destructive. You know, we could change this to blingy. Why don't we just make it a blingy? And the funny thing is when people rip this off me, because this was actually in my book, Photoshop Most Wanted. This is actually how it got out to the world. But people that rip me off literally even use the purple background and the gold. You'd think if you're going to rip someone off, you would be a little bit more subtle about it. So I want to change the angle of that. See that gradient's just kind of straight. We want to have it kind of going at an angle. So if you guys remember, you know, we were on the stroke here. And all we do is just change the angle here. There we go. See, now we're starting to get somewhere. We're cooking with gas. Let's make this a little bigger. There we go. See how it's starting to look better now? So we definitely want to fix that. Another thing I'd like to do is make it more shiny. So we're going to do this with a curves adjustment. But this is completely non-destructive, so I could save that as a layer style if I wanted. In fact, why don't I? Let's go under our window, and we're going to choose our styles. Right now, we're creating wrap diamonds if you just joined us. We've got all kinds of fun things we're doing here today. And I just click here, and I believe that's our bling. We'll call it bling. Bling thing. Bling. B-L-I-N-G. All right, we're going to click here. Add everything, boom, and now it's there. So we can reuse this. Well, I can because I have it. So if you follow along, you can create your own. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to choose the curves. And of course, I don't expect you to follow along now, but do it on the replay. And we're going to go under here. We're going to create a curves adjustment. So I want some contrast. So let's go down here. We're going to push this down a little bit. We're going to push it up. Now we want this to pop. Notice the background is also popping. If you don't want that, hold down the Alt or the Option, click there, and now it's just going to clip that just to that layer underneath. And make sure that we don't do whatever I just did there. There we go. Make sure we clip it to the right thing, which is the layer underneath. And now we can really go crazy sometimes. Is that even going to work? Or do I have to apply it? Oh, you know what I did? Let's hide that. Let's drag that down. Let's get the curves. There we go. So now the curve is applying directly underneath, and it looks like it doesn't want to clip because it's a layer style. There we go. Whoa, that got crazy. That got crazy really quick. Okay, let's get rid of that. And we're just going to pull it down a little bit. Let's bring this in to the blacks, to the whites. Yeah, definitely. More contrasty, looking good. Weird thing is, you know, I got to grab this at exactly 100%. The preview sometimes, you know, when you don't get it exactly 100%, it looks weird. 75% also works. Yeah, see? If you do a 66%, which is weird, because check this out. This is a default of Photoshop. When you do 66, see how it doesn't quite show sharply? Actually, in this case it is. I guess they fixed that. Yay. But there's certain increments when you zoom where things just don't look good. They don't look crisp, and you don't see all the detail. But definitely when you do increments of 50 or whatever, see how it looks sharper. All right, so anyway, moving on. We want to do the sparkle thing. Okay, this is how I create the sparkle. Let me just show you the really quick way of doing it. Usually I'll make a brush, but we probably won't today. We're going to grab the line tool. We're going to use pixels and make sure we're using white as the foreground. And let's set the weight for, I don't know, 4 pixels. I have no idea if it's going to look any good, but let's drag that out. Yeah, it looks good. Let's make sure we don't have the arrowhead. So click on that little gear and you can turn off the arrowhead settings. All right, let's drag that out. Looks good. Now I want to taper the ends. Actually, you know what? Let's do a little shorter. Let's do it there. And let's zoom in so you guys can see. To taper the ends, just use a blur. Filter blur. And let's do a motion blur. And by the way, you can use this if you want to create your own lens flares or whatever. And just set that there. And see how that will taper the ends by doing that motion blur? This is how I spent my youth figuring this out, guys. Like, literally. This is how I know this stuff. That's all I did, is I just used to sit there and just do this stuff. Play with this all day, as probably many of you have. Control J will duplicate it. Control T and drag it. And that's why, you know, I probably get a little adamant about people ripping me off, because I literally spent my life learning this stuff and figuring it out, and then someone just comes and lifts it and rips it off and takes credit for it. It doesn't feel good. Control E, Control J will duplicate that. Control T, and what I'm doing is I'm just duplicating it, making a smaller version of it. And the reason I'm doing that is Control T, hold down the Shift key, that'll go 15 degree increments, and that's going to give us a bit better looking sparkle. And go down there, and there we go. We're creating that kind of sparkle. If you really wanted to be weird about it, like anal, which I am, we're going to grab the ellipse tool, and why don't we just make a circle around here? This is our new layer, right? Let's not use the pixels. Let's go to, you know what? No, let's just grab a, I could do that using the stroke and all that, but it's probably quicker. Just use it, make a selection. And then just put a stroke around it. Edit, stroke, and we'll make it a 1 pixel stroke. Boom. Oh, what happened there? Let's turn that feather off. Let's do that again. And we're going to choose edit, stroke, 1 pixel, inside, outside. Oh, why is that feather still there? That's a little weird. Okay, let me... Oh, you know why? Because when I made that circle, feather was on. Sorry, guys. Let's do it again. Oh, these things you fall for. So when your feather is on and you create a selection, that's actually going to create a feathered selection. So turning the feather off afterwards is not going to get rid of that. See, that's where... Now we've got it like that. You guys have seen these when they're like that, right? And it's just... I don't know. It's just... Drop that down. You could blur it a little bit if you wanted. Let's do that. I'm being really obnoxiously anal about this, but it's the little things that make the difference, you know? It really is. So we put all of those together. Control G, and we'll call that a burst. Or bursts. All right, and there we go. And now to duplicate it, hold down the Alt or the Option key, and let's get a little more bling. Look for bright areas, because the bright areas are where it's going to reflect. Maybe a couple in the diamonds here. This is almost good enough to make a grill out of. Maybe Snoop Dogg wants to take this to his dentist and drop those in. So there we go, guys. That's literally how we create the bling thing. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have done this too. David Holstock says the polygon shape tool has a star creation function too. You're right. You're absolutely right. It does. Let's have a look and show that. David is always full of great ideas. I love your ideas there. Thank you for letting us know. All right. Yeah. So we go in here. Let's do this. It's been a minute since I've done this. Let's go in the shape. And let me just, why am I choosing that when I'm trying to be grabbing the polygon tool? There we go. All right, so we're in the shape. We've got the fill. Now, I believe I can do this live still. Let's find out. And we go under here, and we've got the star option. No, I've got to change this. It doesn't do it live. Okay, but yeah. So you can create stars like that as well. Let's go in here. And let's change the side there to a 4-sided star. And yeah, there we go. That works. Thank you for reminding me about that option, David. And of course, you know, you could play around with it. You could blur it and do different things to get it to look, you know, a little bit better, kind of like these. I kind of like to do it the long way because I can taper those ends individually. But yeah, you can definitely do stuff with that. Works really well on things like photos. What happens if I warp that in a weird way like that? I'm curious. Yeah, see, that would work. Drop those in there. Yeah. All right, so, oh, thank you. David says he prefers my way for now. All right, so this is a modern take on how I did something 20 years ago. And trendy coloring effects. All right, that was something else we did. This one's going to be really quick. I think you guys are going to enjoy this. And, you know, hey, guys, and I'm sorry, you know, if I'm ragging a little hard on the rippers. You know, but, you know, the theme, yeah, for photoshopCAFE has always been create, don't steal. So rather than stealing, you can be inspired by other people's work, but, you know, don't steal it. You know, create your own. And if you don't have the ability to create, why are you teaching Photoshop? Photoshop's a creative tool. You know, the funny thing is, you know, if someone wants to teach guitar, the first thing you want to do is hear them play a song on the guitar. Like, can you actually use the tool you're teaching? An artist knows how to use a paintbrush. But yet we have people that teach Photoshop that don't have a body of work. Anyway, rant over. All right, let's go here. Let's do this hot rod. Maybe we can do something fun with this. And, okay, so this is a fun kind of an effect. There's a couple of different ways that we could do this. Yeah, Rod, they're either too lazy or too talentless. So let's do we're going to create a adjustment layer here, and we're going to create a gradient adjustment layer. And, you know, and that comes for work too. Don't look at a flyer. You know, like I have clients that say, hey, look at this. This is great. Can you create this for me? And I'm like, no, I cannot. But I can create you something similar or something inspired by it. Or I can create you, you know, something in that style. But no, I'm not going to just rip off somebody's work blatantly. I mean, I'm sure you've all had clients that have asked you to do that. Okay, so we're going to apply this gradient fill here, a color gradient. And the nice thing about this is if we double click on it, we can change the angle. And this is a really simple effect. And if we change this to color blend mode, all we're doing is we're just literally applying a color. Now here's something interesting. If I double click on here, we can drag. Watch this. As I drag, I can choose different colors. And that's because I've got the whole spectrum of the gradient of the rainbow here: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. And I'm able to drag that and choose a different portion of it. Now, if I wanted to show more colors, just change the scale, drop it down a little bit. And you can see more colors in here. You've seen these on like movie posters and stuff like that, right? Netflix on the banners. If you just want one color blending into another one, go larger with the scale. And see how we can just kind of go across a couple of colors. And if you look at that, it's really simple. But, you know, before, after, definitely adds a whole spectrum to it. But there's another thing you could do too. Control J. Let's turn it into a sketch and apply it. This is another one of those things I used to teach all the time. Command Shift U is to desaturate it, duplicate it. Control J. So we've basically got two black and white layers, one on top of the other. Let's invert one. Control I or Command I. So what we've done now is we've created an inverted black and white copy. By the way, this looks cool with the color on it right there, just letting you know. Same with there. Now, so what we did is we created a black and white layer, duplicated it, and then inverted the duplicate. Now we're going to change the blend mode. And I believe it was linear light, or was it linear dodge? I believe linear dodge. I haven't done these in so long. And then we're going to choose filter blur. So basically what they've done is they've counteracted each other or canceled each other out. And you can apply any filter, because all you got to do is a change you make so it's not a complete inverse is going to show up. It's kind of a little bit like an earlier version of what some frequency separation is actually based on, or high pass work. So anyway, we're going to choose filter blur, and we're going to use a Gaussian blur. And create an effect here that looks something like pencil. Yeah, it looks good. And if you want to boost it, you know, curves are great. So Control M will introduce a curve adjustment directly on the image. And I'm doing that just so I can punch up the detail a little bit, get a little more control over it. And this is something I never used to do. You know, my result I got was what I got. Whereas using curves is a little bit more of a newer addition to this. And see how you can really just go in there and you can really fine tune what you're working with using those curves. And then we pop the color on top, boom, we've got kind of a, you know, an interesting effect, you know, kind of a sketchy effect. Now this was a very low key image, meaning a very dark image. This works much better with high key images. So let's grab something more high key. This will work nicely. And let's choose edit. And I've never applied these on these particular images before. So just letting you guys know, this is completely non-rehearsed. You usually have a hairy foot. Interesting. All right, so moving in here. I'm just going to duplicate this, Control J, and this is how fast you can do it. Command Shift U to undo it, Control J to copy it, and do an invert of it, and then change this to color dodge. Now we could try some other blending modes and see if we get better results, which we will right after we do this. Gaussian blur, and there we go. Yeah, this is all right. There we go. But I believe we could probably use different blending modes. We might get a better. Screen color dodge. And notice that we can just preview these. Yeah, no, color dodge. Or linear dodge. Yeah, linear dodge works well too. Okay, so let me undo this. I'm going to use linear dodge. And we're just going to undo that adjustment. There we go. So let's change this now to linear dodge. I think this is going to give us a better result. Or maybe not. Let's try filter blur. And apply the Gaussian blur. We're just kind of experimenting a little bit. Yeah. No, definitely not. Oh, you know what? Duh. Did I invert that? No, I did not. That's why it didn't work. Okay, so let's invert it first. There we go. Invert it. Now we go to linear dodge, and now we blur it. Like I said, it's been a minute since I've done this. And here we go. So sometimes what's kind of cool is to do like one version like this, and this will give us kind of the outline. And then you could do another copy of it, you know, something that's going to give us more detailed, and then just kind of blend those together. But anyway, that's working with that. Make a great action. Actually, I do have an action of it. If you guys want it, or I don't know if you were setting me up for that. But if you guys go to the vault, I'll give it to you right now for free. .com/vault. I know you guys regulars already know about this. If you guys are new here, if you go to photoshopcafe.com/vault, then you guys can throw in your email address and you get all this stuff. There's all kinds of things. And one of the things is actions. Set of actions, pencil sketch. Ta-da. And also I've got an action for frequency separation, dodge and burn, high pass sharpening, slide sandwich, all that fun stuff. And you guys can get all of that. Cloud brushes, all kinds of stuff. Just head there, photoshopcafe.com/vault. It's free. All right. So what else was I doing? Back in the day. This is fun. This is fun looking at this. It's so funny because these were cutting edge back in the day. Oh boy. Look at this. Oh, this is hilarious. We're gonna look at the new file browser. I don't think the file browser is even there anymore. That's how new it is now. Effects. Create a seamless panorama. Ooh. Turn color into grayscale. Change the depth of field using lens blur. All right. I think we've got time for one more of these. David lost the cloud brushes. Oh, thank you, Tracy. Just go to the link that you got from the vault and just click there and you can download it again, David. And if you're on the Photoshop Cafe newsletter, the regular newsletter, I include that link. And what I'll do is next week's live stream, I'll include a link in there again so you guys can just click on it and download them directly. All right, so those were fun and exciting stuff. Oh, you know what? This is fun. So here's some of the images that I used back in the day. Some of these I still use, embarrassingly enough. And I used to use these for teaching how to do things. Some of these are photos of very, very old. Like this one here. I scanned this in 2003. But I actually shot this in 99, I believe, when I was in Hong Kong. And let me show you this. So this is a great example. So this is a photo that I shot 22 years ago. And this, I'll show you the lesson I used to teach here. This is the lesson on how to fix a photo using the eyedroppers inside of levels. So watch this. Control L for levels. And then what we want to do is we just want to simply apply these eyedroppers. And you can do this as an adjustment layer, but we're going to apply the shadow eyedropper to the darkest part of the image, the highlight to the lightest part of the image, and that gray into a neutral gray area. And this is going to fix a photo. So the first thing you need to do is find where is the darkest part of the image. So drag, holding down the Alt or the Option key. Wherever those start to appear shows me this is the darkest part of the image. Okay, which is right there. Now you could use the little eyedropper tools to drop the thing, but I'm just going to grab the shadow and I'm just going to drop it on there. Boom. So now we've identified that. Now we're looking for the lightest part of the image. Alt or Option we drag on here. And we can see if I remove the Alt or Option, we can see where it's starting to select. Okay, so the lightest part of the image is in there. So let's grab that eyedropper. And we're going to tap there into the lightest part. And look at that. The photo's already fixed. Very rarely do you have to use the gray. Usually just by setting the white and the black, that will give you the contrast. Here it is before and after. It'll give you the contrast and fix the color. If it doesn't fix the color, grab the gray eyedropper. Do people teach this these days? I don't know. We zoom in and click on the gray area. And this was, shot from film and scanned from a print, by the way. And there we go, preview, before, after, and yeah. And this is literally how I used to. I worked for a magazine, one of my earlier jobs, and I literally just created an action which invoked the layers and then just did a quick after that, I just did this. I'll show you. This is what I did to every image. And I just did the filter sharpen. And then under the sharpen, we did unsharp mask. And I left these settings open, so I didn't apply the settings. So see how that brings out the details, and then the threshold will take it away from the texture. Just apply it to the sharp edges. That's way too much. See how when it starts to sizzle, like areas become white, you don't want the sizzle. So bring it down a little bit. So now it looks like, oh no, nothing's happening. But if you look at it before and after, you can see some things are happening. Let's take that threshold down though. Click OK. So literally that's what I used to do. So I would do, one of the things I did, everything in the magazine. But one of the things I had to do was prepare the images. So, people would send in the images and we did articles on them and whatnot. And then I created that action that would just apply that levels. And I'd do those eyedroppers, just hit them, apply that unsharp mask, and literally I could do 2 or 3 photos a minute and just blast through them just quickly using that method back in the day. And anyway, guys, if you're getting any value out of this at all, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps us with the algorithm on YouTube. And I'm curious, guys, how's this going for you guys? Are you enjoying this? Are you learning anything? Or am I just showing my age here? Or, are these things, I believe a lot of these things can still be applied to Photoshop today. Just a lot of people don't know about these things anymore. A lot of things that, we used to do back in the day, which are just great techniques, have just been forgotten because new tools have come along, which are quicker, but not necessarily always better. So let me know how you guys feel about that. And if you're watching the replay, guys, just drop a comment into the comment section, because the live chat is only working for the group here that's live and enjoying this. Russ, it's a trip down memory lane. Yeah, so it's definitely, Photoshop nostalgia a little bit today. We definitely did something completely different. I don't know if you enjoyed that, if you want to do more of these. Let me know in the comments. We've been doing the latest tools, like literally this Tuesday I just did, last Tuesday I did a video on the neural filters, the AI filters inside of Photoshop. And then here we are doing something that's been in Photoshop for 25 years. So, I love the amount of time Photoshop's been around and the breadth of things that you can do in it. So anyway, guys, if you're new here, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, and you won't miss any of these Thursday live streams or my Tuesday uploads. I think this Tuesday, it was a 3-minute video on how to fix color in photos. So the Tuesday ones are usually pretty quick, and in the live streams we dig in and go a little deeper. Let me know what you guys would like to learn too in the comments underneath, and also in the live chat. So anyways, good to see all of you guys. Linda, Misty, Bruce, of course. Seeing lots of regulars. Jerry Powell, I backed up a little bit, but all regulars here. Tracy, Rayel, Klaus, Jeremy, Russ, David Francis. Any chance you can change the names of these episodes? Give us some hope back. We'll probably do that soon. So suggestions for better names, let me know. I know some people are still in lockdowns, but or new ones, but yeah, that's definitely a good idea. Something we definitely need to work towards. Ralph, good to see you. Anne, Chris, good to see you. Still use some of those. Susan, John Oswald. Vault link doesn't work for me. Really? photoshopcafe.com/vault. Make sure you don't do www.photoshopcafe.com. And I will just type it in here. Do I have it? Is that the link? I know Bruce did that. I'm not going to post in what I just pasted there, because that was the stream key. Probably not a good thing to share publicly. Yeah, so anyway. Thanks, guys. So yeah, if you can't find it, just type in photoshopcafe.com/VAULT, Vault. And so good to see you guys. Yeah, it was definitely a throwback Thursday this week. Good to see you, Doje. Rod, Shelley, good to see you. Cheryl, Johnny, Stuart Braithwaite, Kiora. See the Kiwis behind me? They're holding up the Photoshop. All right. Good to see you, Luis. Jason, Dana Carr, good to see you. Photo Maker, Joe H, Tracy, I think I said hello like 3 times now. Pardon me. Louise, Zach Multimedia, Klaus, William, Paul, Ralph, David. So anyway, guys, Stan, good to see you. Richard, Rolf, DB, good to see you. Gigi, I don't think you've been here for a while, have you? Good to see you. Misty Moss, Yvonne, Cheryl, Eric, Photomaker, Lynn, Lynette, Alistair, good to see you again. So anyway, guys, thanks. I think we're going to sign off, and we'll see you guys next Thursday at what's still called Live from Lockdown. And yeah, maybe we'll work on renaming that. Let me know in the comments if you guys think it's time we start renaming it. Probably around about the time we come out with t-shirts. All right, guys. All right, see ya.